Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk. I'm your host, Dan DeWitt, and it is tournament time. It is here. It is upon us. We are right in the midst of it. ACC tournament finished up this past weekend, and we are ready for NCAA tournament games to start tonight. I'm recording this Tuesday, March, I believe it's the 15th. And yeah, we have play-in games that actually can affect or will affect North Carolina's path to a championship. So it's here. It's awesome. It's the best time of the year. I've said that the past few podcasts. And if you're listening to this, you probably agree. It's go time. That's what it is. It is go time for the Tar Heels. I just want to welcome you in. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast, joining in the conversation that is UNC Hoops, and I hope that you will join me. Connect with me on social media, email me, whatever it may be. Just connect and let's talk hoops and let's talk Tar Heels. And let's jump right in and do just that. So I'm going to recap the ACC tournament real quick. The championship run that was a great run for the Tar Heels, possibly turned around the season a little bit at least. Not that it was going bad, but definitely a turning point in there, I think. And hopefully it will lead to another championship, cutting down the nets in Houston in the beginning of April. So, yeah, let's jump right into the ACC tournament. We started off with Pitt in the quarterfinals, the first game of the day, and started off pretty even. Right before half, I believe it was, we kind of went on a little run. Let's see, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was like 13-2 or something like that right before half. And not necessarily blew it open, gave us a nice little lead. Let's see, we were up 39-35 at half. So, yeah, I mean, the way we had played in the first half, especially considering it was Pitt, we had blown them out earlier in the season. Gave us the lead. I think we were something like we were down by like 4 or 5, something like that, and went on this. And again, this is the turning point I was talking about. I think right before half here, this team realized if they put the pressure on defensively, that they can turn people over. They can really get stuff going and going in a hurry. Because yeah, we were playing with them. Not that we were out of the game by any means, but right before half, we got a couple of steals, knocked down a couple of shots, got a few fast break points, and all of a sudden we're up 4 at half. It continued in the beginning of the second half, and we just kind of went from there. Ended up winning 88-71. Just a solid game. Right? Joel Berry played phenomenal, and I'll just. Spoiler alert, I know you probably know this already, but was the MVP of the tournament. Shot 7 for 8 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 20 points, 3 assists, did have 3 turnovers, but just really led us offensively. Some big buckets. Bryce Johnson was right there, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks. Justin Jackson, 11 points. Marcus Page, 8 points, and I know it's less than double digits. It's not what we really expect from Marcus, but didn't shoot horribly. 3 for 7, 2 for 5, just didn't take that many shots, and we didn't really need him to. Also had 3 assists, 3 turnovers as well. Nate Britt, 9 points. Isaiah Hicks, 10 points off the bench, and yeah, just a solid game. We again play 8 guys in double figures. Beyond those, kind of 8 rotation guys, Kenny Williams got 5 minutes, Luke May 5 minutes, and Joel James 5 minutes. But even some of those 5 minutes was kind of cleanup late in the game. So, yeah, we shot 59% for the game from the field, 43%, which is pretty darn good for us from the 3-point line, and then 89% from the free throw line. So, really took care of all the bases there. We had 6 steals in the game, 7 blocks, 18 assists to just 10 turnovers, and out-rebounded them 30-25, which isn't big. Kind of the one thing, even going into the NCAA tournament, that we got to clean up is giving up offensive rebounds. We gave up 11 offensive rebounds. Fortunately, only 12 second chance points, and we've cleaned up kind of giving up those second chance points, but we've given up way too many offensive rebounds throughout this ACC, well, even into the season, but ACC tournament as well. something we're going to have to clean up to really make a run in the NCAA tournament. We can't give people second chances like that and play defense that long. A couple of guys for them with 19 points, but yeah, like I said, once we turned it around right before half and came out strong in the second half, the game was kind of ours. And yeah, we move on to the semifinals to play not Duke, but Notre Dame, who defeated Duke in overtime. And I guess we can thank Duke. We didn't really need it in this game, but thank Duke for tiring down Notre Dame by taking him to overtime at least. But again, just phenomenal. It was fairly even again until right before half. And then it was like, I don't know what, 18-0 run or something to end the half, and extended it into the second half to a 24-0 run. We got up in the second half by as many as 37 points, ended up winning 78-47. I mean, we allowed Notre Dame's a pretty good offensive team. We held them to 47 points. It was, I mean, again, just defensively phenomenal by the Tar Heels. And they had 2 guys in double figure scoring. We had 5 guys in double figures of scoring. And yeah, that doesn't even include Kennedy Meeks. So yeah, in this game, Marcus Page led us with 16 points. Also had 7 assists to 0 turnovers. So he cleaned up the turnovers. Joel Berry had another 12 points, 4 assists to 0 turnovers. So he cleaned up the turnovers. Bryce Johnson had 12 and 7. Justin Jackson had 11 points. And then Isaiah Hicks off the bench had 11 points, 15 rebounds. I think they said his first double-double of the season. So, again, just across the board, playing phenomenal. And in this game, let's see, I guess I can go back to Pitt even. Minutes between Kennedy Meeks played 17 minutes, Isaiah 19 minutes, so pretty even. Notre Dame, and maybe it was because of the matchup, maybe because of the way Isaiah was playing, but 23 minutes for Isaiah, 16 minutes for Kennedy. Kennedy still did have 7 points, and then Nate Britt 5 and Theo 4 off the bench as well. Again, those 8 guys in double figures minutes played, and then Joel James had 11 minutes as well. Did give us 5 rebounds, and then the rest, of course, kind of garbage minutes. Kenny Williams, had 4 minutes. Luke May 4 minutes. Stillman White 3 minutes, and yeah. Out rebounded them 49-31. Offensive rebounds 19 to their 7. 21 assists for us to 10 turnovers. They had 17 turnovers, 8 steals for us in this game. We shot 44% from the field, 40% from 3. So that's 2 games in a row that were over 40% from the 3-point line. Only 63% from the free throw line, but they didn't really matter in this game. And yeah, held them to 30% shooting, 26% from 3. Much better than, I mean, it was just defensively, we just hounded them. It was incredible. It was awesome to watch. Really fun game, of course, because we're blowing them out. We're head of the ACC championship. And in the ACC championship, we match up with Virginia. And it was one of the players that tweeted this out kind of afterwards, not during the tournament or anything, but it was kind of our revenge tour. If you remember, Notre Dame, well, they beat us during the regular season, but also last year's ACC championship was against Notre Dame. We had a fairly big lead, and they came back, stole it, and won the championship. And then, of course, Virginia beat us this year, and we get revenge on them in the championship here. Another spectacular game defensively. Marcus Page, especially on Brogdon, the ACC Player of the Year, just was in his. I mean, he still hit some tough shots. He ended up with 15 points, but he shot 6 for 22 from the field, 2 for 9 from the 3-point line. Marcus just, I mean, even the shots he made, he was right there in his face and everything. Just great defense. Marcus ended up with 13 points, shot 5 for 13, so didn't shoot phenomenal or anything, but not horrible. He was 0 for 7 from 3, so obviously that's not good. But started being more aggressive, got going to the hole, got some of those layups that we know he can make and that he needs to make, especially to get his confidence back. Joel Berry, again, another phenomenal game, 19 points for him. Some big shots from Joel, 12 points for Bryce. And those are the only guys in double figures. But we only won 61-57. So, I mean, it was a little bit bigger lead than that. We kind of let them hit a couple of big shots late to make it only a 4-point game. We had a little bit bigger lead than that. We knew we were going to win sooner than that, I think. Anyway, I did. But because of the less possessions, we only had 61 points. Obviously, not as many people are going to be in double figures. But Justin Jackson still had 6. Isaiah, another good game for him, was 7. Only 1 rebound, though. That stands out to me. And then Kennedy Meeks, 4 points, 6 rebounds. And I don't know if I said it, but Bryce had 9 rebounds in this game. And again, those 8 guys in double figures of minutes, and then the only other 2 that played in this game, Kenny Williams with 6 minutes, Joel James with 5 minutes. And those 6 minutes by Kenny were huge. Didn't make any shots, didn't take any shots, had 1 foul. That's his only stat besides minutes. But played great defense on Brogdon. I think he only ended up taking 2 shots while Kenny was on him, but some of that was because Kennedy was shadowing him so nicely. And then, just playing good defense. And you think, the veteran senior, the ACC player of the year going up against a freshman that doesn't even play much. I know the guys on TV were calling him out, calling Roy out for putting him on there, but really played well on him. Gave us some good, because Marcus needed a break from guarding him. He was definitely tired. And yeah, Kenny stepped up and gave us some good minutes. It's not going to look like much in the stat book. Like I said, only 1 foul in his 6 minutes, but it was big. So stat wise, only 5 offensive rebounds for us, 16 offensive rebounds for them, and that's what I said. We got to clean that up. They did only end up with 6 second chance points. We actually ended up with more second chance points with them with our 5 offensive rebounds than they did in their 16. But we just can't give up 16 offensive rebounds. They actually out-rebounded us 36-28. Both had 10 turnovers. Assists were right in there. We had 8 steals to their 4. But again, the defense, and that's the thing with Virginia. People say it all the time. With their style, they're just not going to blow people out, and you give, people chances. And we actually extended the lead more than I thought we would. I said, kind of the beginning or midway through the second half is we just got to hang around till the end, and hopefully they're tired, they're missing shots, and we win. They actually missed quite a bit of shots even before the end of the game that they usually make, and we were able to pull out a little bit sooner than that. But we showed we can win a game, in the 50s and the 60s, lower possession, that kind of stuff. We didn't shoot that well. I mean, from the field, we were 51%, but from 3, we were 25%. Free throws were huge. We were 77%, but we held them to 37% shooting from the field and 33% from the 3. So again, it was defense that definitely won this championship. The guys realize it, and hopefully that carries over into the NCAA tournament. And they just, continue working and getting better. ACC championship for the Heels. Marcus and Bryce continue to leave their legacy on the program as seniors. Joel stepped up huge. Let's see. Justin needs to step up a little bit more. He needs to do better in there, but it was a great showing. And like I said, that turnaround, I think it started with right before half in the Pitt game, where I think it kind of opened their eyes. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in the locker room. I don't have all that inside info or anything, but I think they just saw that we really pressure teams. We would get up in them. We create turnovers, and we can score and play like we want. And that, I mean, even if we didn't get all the turnovers against Virginia, it showed them that their defense is there and they can do it. So hopefully that continues, and it needs to if they want to make a run, which of course we know they do. So jumping over into before we jump into the NCAA bracket, I guess Bryce was first team somewhere. I don't know where it was, USA Today or USA basketball team or something, but he was first team, which means his jersey will go into the rafters, so him and Marcus will be right next to each other for the rest of North Carolina basketball forever, whatever you want to say. So that's pretty neat. It's always good to have guys getting up in there and doing well. But yeah, then the bracket comes out on Sunday, which was a whole debacle in itself. The way teams were seeded, where people were sent, who made the turn, and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into that. National people have been talking about that for a few days now, so I'm not going to talk about that. And then there was the whole big leaked bracket. Somebody leaked it. Well, of course, CBS extended it to 2-hour selection show instead of an hour, so it's their own fault. But somebody leaked it, and it's great. But yeah, the Tar Heels are headed out east, which means the first 2 games will be played right there in Raleigh, North Carolina. I think at NC State's gym, so that should motivate them a little bit. And then they will head to Philadelphia for the East region, as long as they make it out of the first weekend, which they better. Which confuses me and which kind of irks me too. I was hoping they would get sent to the South region, because then they end up in Louisville for the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and I was going to go watch them make the Final Four. But for whatever reason, Kansas, being the -- 1 overall in the bracket, gets sent to the South, to Louisville, as opposed to the Midwest, which is Chicago, which is, right there in their wheelhouse. So whatever there was a whole bunch of those. And again, if you want to hear those, there's plenty of podcasts and national people tweeting and writing articles and all that about who shouldn't have and should have made the bracket, who should have been seated higher or lower, been sent different places and all that. So I'm not going to get into that. But what I am going to do is run through my bracket, and I'm just going to say kind of the second round, who I have winning over who, so you'll know who I have winning the first round, if that makes sense. For example, and I'm not going to start with the East region. I'm going to actually end with the East region. But for North Carolina, I would say I have UNC winning over Providence. So you know that I have Providence beating USC. Obviously, I have North Carolina beating whatever 16 seed wins tonight. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I will jump ahead and kind of give my Elite 8, Final Four, and champion, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise. You are listening to a UNC basketball podcast, and UNC is a 1 seed. If there's any chance of it being realistic, I'm going to pick them to win. So spoiler alert. But yeah, let's run through that second bracket. And then, obviously next week when we have the podcast, I'll have to adjust where I'm wrong and all that. And disclaimer, I am not confident about my bracket. Besides North Carolina, I wrote them all the way to the championship when I first looked at the bracket. I have way too many just chalk wins. I don't have enough upsets in here. So I know this doesn't happen. Don't go fill out a bracket like me and put money on it or anything like that. So yeah, in the South region, I have Kansas beating UConn. I have Maryland beating California. I have Arizona beating Miami, Florida. I have Iowa, beating All right, make sure I got this right. Kansas over UConn, Maryland over Cal, Zona over Miami of Florida, and Villanova over Iowa. And yes, that is completely higher seeds winning. I didn't know where to pick the upset in that region, and so I have all chalk. Now, I do have Arizona being Miami, Florida, which is an upset. Technically, I guess you'd say Maryland over Cal, because Maryland's a 5 seed, but it's 5-4, so I don't really consider that one. But I do have Arizona beating Miami, Florida in that second round. That's my upset in that region, I guess. The popular one is Hawaii over California. I don't know, California's really good. Also, Temple over Iowa, so that they get the whole Philly matchup between Villanova and Temple. But I think Iowa can last 1 game. So that's my South region. And then I do have Kansas and Villanova meeting in the Elite 8, with Kansas winning that, just to move on to the Elite 8 and Final Four. Moving down to the West region, I have Oregon beating Cincinnati, Baylor beating that other school, Duke. My upset in this region, well, one of them, I guess, is Northern Iowa losing to Texas A&M, so Northern Iowa beating Texas. It's kind of weird there seeing Texas play Northern Iowa, as they were the 2 kind of non-conference teams we lost to there. But Northern Iowa losing to Texas A&M, and then Oklahoma beating VCU. So I have VCU over Oregon State there, and Oklahoma winning against them. And then I have Oklahoma beating Oregon in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. So again, another 1-2 in the Elite Eight, but this time the 2 winning there. I'm going to move over to the Midwest region, Virginia's region. I have Virginia beating Texas Tech. I have Purdue beating Iowa State. I have Utah beating Gonzaga. Right there, Gonzaga beating Seton Hall being my upset in this one. And then I have Michigan State beating Dayton down at the bottom. And then I have Michigan State continuing their dominance of Virginia and heading to the Final Four. Michigan State over Virginia in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. Another 2 seed, again, 1-2 in the Elite Eight, but the 2 winning. And then North Carolina's, of course, I already said North Carolina is going to go all the way to the championship and win. But UNC over Providence. I have Indiana beating Kentucky. I hope they both lose in the first round. I would be okay with that. But Indiana beating Kentucky. West Virginia beating Notre Dame. And Xavier beating Pittsburgh. And I don't know, I just kind of looked at it, but I guess I don't have any ACC teams. Oh, yeah, Virginia's going to Elite Eight. But besides North Carolina and Virginia, I think all of my ACC teams are losing in this. Oh, no, Maryland's not in the ACC anymore. Wow. Yeah, all my ACC teams are losing in the second round, except for Virginia and North Carolina. Virginia losing in Elite Eight. But then anyway, back up to the East, I have North Carolina beating West Virginia in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. So West Virginia taking out Xavier in that Sweet 16 matchup. So that's my only non-1-2, and it's a 1-3 region. And so my Final Four is Kentucky against Oklahoma. I took not Kentucky. Wow. Sorry. All right, here we go. Try it again. I have Kansas beating Oklahoma in the Final Four, which when I put it, I thought, well, Kansas has beat them twice already. They're going to beat them to go to the Final Four. But it is hard to beat somebody 3 times in a year, especially when they're that good and that close. Oklahoma played them pretty close both times. So I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe I'll switch those around. But right now I have Kansas beating Oklahoma. I have North Carolina beating Michigan State again. Just like Michigan State continuing their dominance over Virginia, I have North Carolina continuing their dominance over Michigan State there. And then I have, of course, North Carolina beating Kansas. And, I just talked about, continuing their streaks against teams. Kansas has kind of had Roy's number since he left. But I think, this one's the national championship. He's finally going to get over. He's far enough removed from Kansas. He's going to get his revenge and get his big win in the national championship game. Unless, of course, I change it to Oklahoma, which I'm really considering now as I think about it more and more. But that is my bracket. I would love to see your bracket. Again, tweet it at me, send an email. Any of those social medias. Let me see your bracket or tell me what your Final Four is and all that stuff. So let's take a little closer look at North Carolina's run or path to what would be a championship if they can do it. So they have to wait till tonight to know who they're going to play. It's going to be Florida Golf Course or Dunk City or Fairleigh Dickinson. Fairleigh Dickinson, only team in the field with a losing record, and I don't think they're going to do it. I think they play more of an up and down style, so I think it would be really interesting or fun because I think we'd blow them out of the water. But we should be fine with either one of those. I think it's going to be Florida Golf Coast. But, yeah, we should be fine there. If not, I mean, wow, we just made history by being the first 16 to lose. And, by the way, that game is Thursday. It is on TBS. And I want to make sure I got all this right. It's 7:20 Eastern tip. And that should be the first game of kind of the night session. So it shouldn't be pushed back by games going late in the afternoon region or anything like that. It should be the first night session game. So we should be good to starting like right at 7:20, and that is TBS against either Florida Gulf Coast or Fairleigh Dickinson. And then we play the winner of USC Providence. I picked Providence to win. They have it should be an interesting matchup. They got a really good guard in Chris Dunn, All-American type guard, And then they have their big man is being very productive, which wasn't predicted early in the season or preseason, but one of the most improved players in the country. However, with our depth in both those areas, we should be fine. We're going to get past Providence. Again, if we don't, yikes, that's scary. So yeah, we'll be fine this first weekend, and then, as long as we are, I'll get, of course, into it more next weekend. But we're looking at a possible matchup between whoever wins between Indiana and Kentucky. Unless, of course, one of those teams gets upset. I'd love to see both of them get upset in that first round. I think we're going to be okay. We're too deep, and if Indiana wants to run with us, or they depend mostly on their offense, which only helps us because if our defense is improved and we play offense like we have, we'll be fine. And Kentucky, I've been saying this. I got a couple of Kentucky guys, and they're like, "Oh, we'll see you in the Sweet 16 and stuff like that." A couple of buddies, I should say, but I told them, like, as long as our guards match up, as long as Joel Berry and Marcus Page can play Murray and Ulis evenly or even close to evenly, then I'm not scared, because our big guys are too deep and too good for their big guys. The one thing that would kind of scare me about Kentucky is Derek Willis shooting, their stretch four out on the outside, knocking down threes. I said I would even like to see like Justin Jackson guard Willis if we got to that point, and hound him out on the 3-point line. But that would leave Bryce like on Briscoe or something. I don't know if that's a good matchup either. He's more of a driver. So I don't know. But like I said, as long as we match up with their guards evenly enough or close to even, we should be okay in that one if Kentucky can make it there. West Virginia is definitely the one in our region that worries me. And then when you get to the Final Four, anything can happen. So we'll of course talk about that later, as long as we make it there. Let's knock on wood. But yeah, that's our two matchups for this weekend. Should be, of course, perfectly fine in the first round, playing a 16 seed. And Providence doesn't worry me a whole lot. Our depth and skill and stuff should wear them down and overwhelm them by the end. So that is our first weekend, and that's how we kind of look at it. Take it, a lot of coaches say this. It's 2-game tournaments. You got to win this weekend, then you got to win next weekend, and then of course the Final Four championship weekend. It's 3 sets of 2-game tournaments, and that's how we got to look at it. That's how we got to go about our business and win this sucker. So that's the NCAA tournament. That's our recap of my recap of the ACC tournament. I'd love to hear back your feedback, questions, comments, anything like that. Of course, hit me up on social media. All those links are down in the description below, and you can get in touch with me and let's talk ACC hoops. Let's talk NCAA hoops. Of course, Tar Heel basketball. But I hope to see you back here again next week. Please share this with your Tar Heel friends. And from this point on, we're talking about the whole tournament. So share it with your college basketball friends and family, and get the awareness on here out. If somebody wants to come on and join me during this March Madness season, let's try to work something out. I usually record during the day. You got to be kind of open to that, which is harder for people. But come join me on the podcast and get your 2 cents in on the air. And I guess I'll say, I try not to say this too much, but if you do want to support the podcast more than liking or reviewing it or subscribing, you can go to patreon.com/UNCHoopsTalk. /UNCHoopsTalk. Wow. That link will be in the description below, but it's patreon.com, patreon.com/UNCHoopsTalk. Again, that subscription is there, and you can give as little as like $1 a month, and it just helps make the production of this better. It helps with the hosting of the podcast. It helps, just make the production better. And as you can see, I need it. So support the podcast and make it better, and let's cheer on our Tar Heels together. But that's all I got for this weekend. It's plenty. Enjoy the games, and of course, cheer those Tar Heels on to victory. I am your host, Dan DeWitt, signing off for UNC Hoops Talk podcast. Until next week, go Heels.